Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I'm answering questions about OCD recovery. These are questions that you left below my video about asking a question on the next Q&A. The first question is, hi Ali, wanted to ask, does the OCD triggered from the OCD get triggered from traumatic events? My friends used to tease me by calling me names. Now my OCD themes revolve around them and the words they used to say. It has been 2 months and I can't seem to get out of the loops. Even therapies are not working. All these thoughts and triggers are making me anxious and angry. Please, can you provide me any idea on how to resolve them? So the exposure here would be those names. So those names that your friends called you, try to say them all the time. You know, eventually, it's like, you know, if you repeat the word over and over and over again, you're eventually going to get desensitized. But when you say it, you have to refuse reaction. So you can't react with fear or with anger to the thoughts. So the reaction has to be controlled. That, okay, I'm going to do the exposure. So before doing the exposure, right, you're saying, I'm going to do the exposure. When I say the words, I'm just going to be like, okay, who cares? That was their issue. Why they were calling me that, it doesn't matter. I'm moving forward. You know? So then when you say it, you're very much trying to control your reaction. So you're not analyzing, you're not getting into the loop of, oh, how could they say that? You know, like the anger, right? You're just saying it kind of like as a matter of a fact. They used to say this. Okay, I'm this. Yep, I'm this all the time. You know what I mean? Really, like, try to kind of look at it that it doesn't matter. It was just somebody said something a long time ago. I have to move on from it. And the more you say it in that way, at first you will feel like you're faking it, but the more you say it in that way, the more the brain will eventually click in that this is actually not important, you know? But you can't just say it. The reaction to what you're saying has to be controlled, and absolutely no rumination. So don't allow yourself to ruminate on the situation or anything like that, because then that's just going to go further. So next question is, so a person who suffers from Puro should just disregard the thoughts to the best of his or her ability, not paying attention or give in, and then bring up the thoughts on purpose every now and then and treat the thoughts as if they could be real, but without attaching any further emotions to it. No matter what OCD throws at you, you're supposed to carry on like this until the fear becomes weaker and weaker. Is this correct? I love your videos, but would appreciate if you break it down as a whole in a simplistic way. Thank you. Yes, the only thing is, I don't really, what you're saying is correct. And you know, according to all OCD kind of books and all of this, this is the exact correct way. However, the acceptance part is what I kind of have a little bit of trouble with, because when you say and treat the thoughts as if they could be real. You know, depending on the type of thought, usually it's like the worst possible thought, and the person will say, like, the stumbling block will be, Ali, I can't live with this being real. You know, so I can't accept it as possibly being real. You know, it's too much of a responsibility or too much of a chance or whatever. You know, and a lot of the times, because, you know, when, for example, when you go to a therapist and the therapist says, well, you should accept the fact that you think you've killed somebody as maybe being real, you know, because the therapist knows that it's not real. You know, they know that this is just a person having OCD, you know, but to the person having OCD, this feels ultra real, and they're like, I can't live with that possibility, you know, even with, you know, so I find it's better with Puro to say, and I'm choosing to accept it as OCD, you know? So even though my feelings are saying, what if this could be real? I'm choosing to accept it as OCD. You're still kind of taking a chance, right? Not really taking a chance, but in a sense, you're still making a choice, right? But it's much better to say it that way than to say that I accept it as possibly being real, you know, because a lot of the times the person just simply cannot do that. And that's the reason for their OCD. But they can say that, yes, it feels real, but at the same time, it has all the patterns of OCD. So I'm just going to choose to view it as OCD. And that's a much nicer way to kind of wrap the whole thing, like in. I find that works better. But generally what you're saying is exactly correct, you know, just no energy, you know. However, if for you it's easier to say, yeah, maybe it could be real, I'm moving on, whatever, I don't care, and you're not giving it energy, then that works as well. It's basically however you can do it, that you're not feeding it in any way, you're not taking, giving it attention, you're not powering it up in any possible way. That's the way you should do it. Because it's the powering up. When you make something important in your mind, that's when the thoughts come in more. So that's the only thing that's really happening. It's just honestly choosing not to do it over and over and over again. So next question is, I have cheating OCD and it has bothered me for months now. There are days I wake up thinking the thought is so stupid, and then the other times I'm like, what if I actually did something? Is this a common type of OCD? Yes, it absolutely is extremely common type of OCD. So you have to say it's common type of OCD. I don't need to take it seriously. I'm not sure if this is the first time you've had this this thought, or was it before you've had thoughts as well, like about different situations, different different themes, or the same theme. So you have to look at it that if you didn't, then other people definitely did. So you have to look at it. It's an OCD thought, choosing to move forward. And when you say I'm choosing to move forward, you're also choosing not to analyze this. So no, I'm no longer analyzing it. What if it happened? Well, whatever. I'm moving on. It looks like OCD. It feels like OCD. I'm moving on. Well, it feels real, but feeling real is kind of almost like the hallmark of OCD. So choosing to move on. Next question is, hi Ali, thank you for all your help and all the work you've been doing to support the OCD community. You know what? I'll do this forever, because honestly, it's something needs to be done here. I can't believe people are suffering like this, and there's actually a way to get out of this. There's a way to fully recover from this, but you just have to do the right things. And if the person doesn't know, then their kind of natural go-to move is to protect themselves, and that's how people get stuck in OCD. Could you make a video on how OCD relates to delusional thinking? Because I've noticed that most of the time it's delusional idea that repeats itself in my brain over and over again. I somehow know that it's delusional, and it's not real, but my mind refuses to let go of the idea. That's everybody. So sometimes I guess like OCD is about more kind of everyday things, and sometimes it's like way out there kind of thoughts. But either way, it's the spinning it. The more you're taking the thought seriously, even a little bit. So even if like half the time, 50% of your mind, 50% of you kind of know that this doesn't make any sense, but 50% of the time you're also kind of like taking it seriously and a little bit analyzing. Or even worrying about worrying, right? Sometimes the person is not necessarily analyzing, but they're worrying. Why am I still taking these thoughts seriously? What does that mean? Will I ever recover? And then they start to worry about, will they ever recover from OCD? And that can become a big thing as well. So you need to refuse to feed fear to the thoughts, any thought. The thought about just OCD, like worrying about the thought, analyzing symptoms, like, well, why do I feel guilty then? Or why do I feel sad? Or why do I feel depressed or whatever? You know what I mean? Like not doing that either, across the board. Next question is, can OCD theme revolve around certain traumatic events? How do I deal with it? Please answer. I think I've already answered it in the first question because it's the same person. So, but yeah, if something is traumatic, like a real traumatic situation from the past, can come back as the person starts to analyze that theme, or the person, not that theme, but that situation, and create a theme out of it. Or the person can take a situation that happened in the past and add more to it, right? And that's when the false memory would be created. So there's all kinds of ways that this could go, but yes, it's common. Next question is, hi Ali, I'm grateful for your work. Please tell me, I have a fear and intrusive thoughts about suicide, but I have been successful disregarding them lately. But today I read a comment on the internet about a man who suffered from OCD and killed himself, and it terrified me a lot. Please tell me something about it. Suicide OCD is a very common type of OCD. Anybody can choose to kill themselves if they wanted to, right? But just because OCD is telling you that, oh, this is what you're gonna do, this is what you want to do, that's an OCD theme, So you want to say I mean, the same exact thing, right? It's OCD, I'm disregarding, you know? Try to stand, you know, by a knife or by a window or whatever kind of suicide fears you have, you know, when you say this, right? So you're like, oh, disregarding, whatever, I'm moving forward, you know. Eventually you'll get bored by like standing, you know, next to a window or standing next to a knife. You'll be like, okay, whatever, this doesn't make sense, you know. But at first it's going to be very scary. So, you know what I mean? Like just really pushing it to the next level. Okay, well, you know what? Whatever, you know, really saying to OCD, you know what, I'm just not gonna I'm just not gonna buy into what you're selling anymore, you know? So, you know, don't take it too far, you know, like you still have to make sure that you're safe, you know, don't do any kind of daredevil things, you know, but, you know, just try to kind of call OCD bluff, you know, on this, right? Like saying like, okay, look, I'm standing next to a knife. Yep, I'm gonna kill myself right now. I'm just gonna do it, you know? And then you'll do it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you know, and when the fear goes up, don't run away from it. You know, just keep continuing to be in that situation until you feel that the fear starts to go down. And it might take a few minutes, you know. Usually what happens with these kinds of exposures, like suicide-related exposures, is that first the person will get scared and then they're like bored sitting next to a knife or standing next to a knife, so they start to pull out their phone, they start to just click around, they're like, oh, this is so boring, when is the time going to go by? You know, and really kind of, that's how you know you're healing, you know. Next question is, I have harm OCD and it seems that I am in a second stage. This is the person is talking about the stages of recovery. I have 3 videos. You can find them either in the playlists or just if you scroll down the videos, you will see it there. I might link it towards the end of this as well, with the different stages of OCD recovery. So the person says, I have harm OCD and it seems that I'm in the second stage. You said that I will need to do ERP all the time and that the thought itself is the exposure. But during the times that I don't have OCD thoughts, should I do ERP? Or should I think about the thoughts intentionally? Thank you so much for helping us. I'm really happy to help. In terms of the thoughts, you know, I mean, I want you to enjoy life, right? I don't want you to be always doing exposures. You know, I mean, I say that, right? And to do exposures every moment of the day, but at the same time, you need to normalize for the brain that, you know, you're just living normal life as well. I would say kind of try to do a mix. You know, don't get to an obsessive level where I always, every moment have to do exposures. That's kind of more rhetorical, but you always have to be in the zone. So I was fine, I had fun, I was doing this and that. Okay, I'm gonna do an exposure, you know, say, oh, like, well, you said you had harm OCD, so yeah, I'm gonna kill everybody. Okay, I'm gonna kill them right now. Here I am standing, again, go back to the knives, right? Standing next to a knife, I'm gonna kill everybody. Okay, I'm done, I'm gonna go do something else now. You know, so kind of like always making it a part of your day and kind of keeping in that zone. Next question is, does physical exercise and mindful meditation play a role in recovering from OCD? I would say yes. As long as obviously you don't do it obsessively, it's a good thing. It's not going to fix OCD. I think meditation is kind of, you know, maybe over a long period of time, you know, it can create a major effect on OCD, but I'm talking like years, right? In short term, I don't think it can, I mean, I know it can't fix OCD, but it's kind of like, you know, if you are having correct lifestyle, if you're not drinking too much caffeine, if you're sleeping normal hours or close to normal hours, like physical exercise, being outside, meditation, all of these things together create a much better environment for recovery rather than if you're not sleeping, drinking caffeine, overworked, you know, all of these things that creates kind of a situation for disaster. You know what I mean? So it is a helpful thing. If you can do it, go ahead and do it, you know, because it's a much kind of a stronger position that you put yourself in from the beginning. So next question is, it just happens that a lot of times when I'm just constantly trying to filter the thoughts through that pop in my head and just try to disregard that they're just OCD, I get confused and fall in a state when I just don't trust my mind anymore, nor the judgments that I make, and then it all just doubles and the frustration and anxiety. So is this normal? Yes, this is normal, but when you're trying to filter the thoughts, are you trying to analyze which thoughts are OCD and which are not? Because that's what it sounds like. And you have to look at it that anything to do with your theme or your themes is OCD. So don't try to figure out, is this specific thought, does it really fall into the theme or does it kind of fall into the theme? You have to look at it, yes, it falls into the theme, I'm moving on. You know what I mean? Like not taking a long time to identify each thought, because then that's when you start to fall into it. Well, it kind of makes sense, but then it kind of doesn't. You start to get into it, right? So you want to just say, it's my theme, it's OCD, I'm done. I'm disregarding, Next question is, okay, so I can deal with the thoughts themselves usually, but I get really stuck when I have a thought that's terrible. I feel like I want to do something wrong and then do something and then feel guilty for feeling like I acted on the thoughts. Then I get extreme anxiety feeling, and that's where I can't seem to get over it. Okay, so what you want to say is, you want to say, again, any thought that has to do with my theme is OCD. Guilt is also part of OCD, right? So you want to say, all of this is OCD. I have nothing to feel guilty about. I'm choosing to move forward, So you're not focusing on, oh, well, this thought was so terrible, or what if something happened, or this or that, or, a lot of the times the person will say with like harm OCD, they'll move a certain way or do a certain like a very small action, and they'll be like, oh my God, this is it. I was going to do something, you know what I mean? Or I feel like I did something or whatever, right? So it's like, this is OCD. I'm choosing to move forward, not getting into it, not analyzing it, because that's really what will create the bigger problem. And then the more you're focusing on it, the more it amplifies, so not getting into it. It's my theme. I've dealt with it for long enough. I've suffered for long enough, and now I'm done, really taking it like that. Had a very hard time with the retroactive jealousy OCD and using ERP for it, and how do I rid myself of the thoughts and depression with it? For that, what you have to say is, you know what, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I have clearly OCD because, with the retroactive jealousy, right? What if my partner cheats, or what if my partner leaves me, right? I'm assuming that's the kind of thoughts you're having. Or what if they like someone else or whatever, things like that, right? So with that, you want to say, well, if that happens, that happens. I can't control what they do, but if that happened, you left them, right? You went, eventually found someone else. I guarantee you would still have retroactive jealousy with this new person, a new unsuspecting person as well. You know what I mean? Because this is not your partner centric. It has nothing to do with your partner. It's literally just OCD coming in. No matter how perfect or imperfect your partner is, you will still have this OCD. So you need to deal with this as a separate issue. It's not about what they say or did or whatever, or what you feel like worried that they would do, things like that, right? This is just an OCD issue that attached to your partner, so you have to look at it this way, that it means nothing. It's just OCD, and I'm just gonna move on, because again, it follows my theme. If I actually have any concrete reasons that other people would also agree is bad, then I will deal with it, but right now, this is retroactive jealousy. I need to move forward. Next question is, hi Ali, what should I do when I have a chest discomfort due to ERP, as I'm currently doing for my OCD? I have weird sensations in the body. So, okay, with that, these are just symptoms of anxiety. Just don't focus on them. View it as temporary, Next question is, how do you differentiate anxiety, OCD, or phobia? And actually, another person replied, anxiety and phobia don't come with rituals, maybe except for avoiding. I mean, I don't know. Do you really need to differentiate it? Like, what would be the goal to differentiate the three? You really have to do ERP for all three of them. For anxiety, long after I've overcome OCD, long after, I still use ERP, just like I put in the previous video or 2 videos ago, in daily life. If you don't like something, or if some sort of situation stresses you out, you can use ERP for that, and you just become a lot tougher. You're not so caught up in real life stuff. You're not as affected by things. You know what I mean? So, and that's just, I don't even know what that would be, because it wouldn't really be anxiety at that point. It's not a phobia, it's not OCD, it's just, real life. But you could still use ERP even for that. Say for example, I don't know, you hate your job, for example, right? Which I'm very lucky that that's not my case. But and you think like, oh, I hate going to work each day and all of this kind of stuff, right? So for that, right, if the more you power that thought up, the more that thought is going to come into your mind. But if you say instead, like, okay, whatever, it is what it is, I can't change it right now, so I'm just choosing not to pay attention to it. That's much healthier message that you're sending to the brain, and the brain will respond in the same way. So using ERP for that really, really helps. So it just to illustrate the point that even for that, ERP helps. So for OCD, definitely. For anxiety, if you have strong anxiety about certain topics are very triggering. Why go through life always being triggered by certain situations, rather than saying like, okay, whatever, I'll just face them, deal with them. It might be painful once, but that's it. And same with the phobias. And again, it's up to you how far you want to take your recovery. I mean, personally, I took it really far with constantly doing ERP. But I do suggest it, because I've talked to quite a few, 9 years, I've talked to quite a few people with OCD. And, I can tell you that every single person, so 9 years, you can imagine like how many clients I have. I have somewhere, I usually don't like to have more than 30 clients per month. Just because with the text support, it's very hard to keep on the text support if I have much more. I have more than 30. Somehow it ends up being that way, anyways. If you think 30 clients per month, and usually people do about 2 months over the course of 9 years. That's a lot of people. So with that amount of people, the one thing I see in every single person, maybe there's, I don't know, maybe a few people that didn't feel that way, but I can't even remember one, to be honest. Every single person has been very, very sensitive, from birth, they were born like this, from the beginning, from childhood, they were extremely sensitive. And that was the building blocks to later developing OCD, to whatever they were more or most sensitive to, whatever triggered them the most, So kind of as a way to ensure that the OCD doesn't come back, it's good to toughen yourself up to the world, to things that make you anxious, just to kind of have that assurance that, things actually will be okay and you will have full recovery. Sorry guys, this is a little bit long video, but I just want to make sure I get to at least all the questions in the second try, because the first try I couldn't get to all of them, and I feel bad that people are waiting for 3 weeks to get a response. So next question is, I have harm OCD, and at times it feels like I purposely put the thought into my head and then get anxious. This isn't related to ERP or exposures. It happens mostly when I'm around triggers. Is this OCD? It is an exposure. When you're around trigger, you are pushed into an exposure. So now what are you going to do with it? Are you going to take it seriously? Are you going to worry about it or not? So you have to look at it that, no, whatever, don't care, So whether you feel that you purposely put the thought, or did I purposely put the thought, don't analyze it. Don't try to figure it out, because the more you try to figure it out, the worse this is actually going to feel. Next question is, I have Puro, and then I get a thought that I hate people that I love. Is this normal for Puro? Yes, that's a normal Puro type of OCD theme. So again, disregarding. because I feel like I'm the only one who has this kind of OCD, and I just don't know what to do to stop thinking about it. So, okay, I have had many clients who have this kind of OCD. You're definitely not alone. It's a very common type of OCD. So what you say here, I just don't know what to do to stop thinking about it. You have to do nothing, and you can't block these thoughts, because the more you block them, the more they're going to come in. So what you want to say is like, oh yeah, I hate everybody across the board, everybody, I hate them all, you know. They say, like, you know, you're say you're in a room and the person that you love walks in and you feel like you hate them. You're like, oh, there's that person, hate them, you know, like really kind of take it to that extreme level, you know, and you will see that there's actually nothing behind it, just choosing to do it. Next question is, hi Ali, my OCD started 3 years ago when my friend died. I started to worry that maybe I'm ill and I will die too. So I really got physical symptoms, heartburn, headache every day, muscle pain. All the doctors said that it's all about stress, and work with psychologist on my topic changed to religious OCD. Now near a year ago, I saw your video and tried to refuse. My anxiety went from 4 to 3. Oh, is down to 4 or 3 from 9 to 10. My thoughts become less, but now I get thoughts and worries about health again. The reason I still always have physical symptoms, sometimes less, sometimes worse. And I really have a cyst in my neck. So doctor said that it's so little and can't give pain. Check it after 1 or 2 years. Now I remind it and I start to worry about it. And the hardest thing that I really still have physical symptoms. And it's hard to refuse because all the parts of my body hurts. The question is it really OCD? Can you have physical symptoms and my earpiece to refuse the thoughts that what if something real and I don't react? I tried to do it, but then again, I think and check the internet, I really worry that it's not OCD because I don't go to the doctors for a few months. Thanks. Okay, so yes, this is OCD. This is very common type of OCD, and as long as you allow yourself to worry about it, this is going to get worse. You know, so you had a trigger and you just kept thinking about it. You're doing good because obviously, clearly your OCD is going down, but you're still analyzing, and that's why you can't get to the next stage. So you really have to take a look on how much you're allowing yourself to analyze and really cut it down to 0. You know, it has to be like nothing, you know, no, it's OCD. You know, and when your mind comes up with, well, what if it's not OCD? Yep, it's OCD, I don't care, you know? And your mind's like, well, what if you're wrong? What if you're going to die? Well, then I'm going to die, but I'm choosing to view it as OCD. I'm choosing to view it as OCD. It's coming from a position of choice, and choice is based that you know that this is your OCD, you know? And it's going to go from one theme to another. That's normal for it to flip back and forth. Next question is, constant checking online has become an addiction or an obsession over analyzing. One theme of what if, blah, 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 pure, oh, the person didn't put. I used to check daily. I've improved and gone days without checking. That's very good. But the wave of urges and anxiety tells me you need to check one last time. This hasn't stopped for 3 years because the theme feels so real and gives me anxiety. You have to start buying into it a lot less. The reason why you're doing better by not checking, but you're still taking the thoughts seriously, and that's why they're still staying. So when you get the thought, you're still to an extent sending a message that this is valid, and that's why you're having trouble. Trying to disregard, trying not to react to the thoughts or what ifs. Everyone tells me it sounds irrational, but I am stuck on what if it's not irrational. So what if means OCD. So you have to say, I'm choosing to view it as OCD, and you move on. So when you say, I'm choosing to view it as OCD, it's like, you know, talking the talk, but you have to walk the walk as well. You can't just say, I'm choosing to view it as OCD and then spend all day analyzing. You know, it's like you really have to, if you have to monitor yourself minute by minute, hour by hour, how much did I analyze in the last hour? Okay, I'm going to do this. Keep yourself busy, but keep yourself away from the OCD thoughts, away from the internet. The thoughts can come in. You can't really control that, but your reaction is what you need to control. So it's just making a choice. You will see it the way everybody else sees it, that it is irrational, but you will only see it when you take this step, you know. So I hope you find it helpful. This is the end of the questions. If you would like to do the recovery program with me, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. You can sign up from there and we can get started right away. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.